Okay. So I did a video about the psychology of weapons. Why a primitive weapon might be more effective than a technically more effective weapon. So clubs, hand loads, things like that, pepper spray. Pepper spray is not a primitive weapon. There's never been a recorded case of ancient people using chemical weapons like that. And pepper spray is a chemical weapon. It's an irritant meant to dissuade an assailant, whether it's a big grizzly bear, for instance, bear spray, or a big crazy nigger on PCP, for instance. But there are examples of biological weapons use in ancient warfare. The Mongols used to hurl the dead over the with catapults or whatever, or they'd foul the wells, right? Because they were a army primarily of horsemen. What's the language of that, right? We deny you your wells. We want you, look at what we're doing. We're throwing your own corpses. We're throwing your own corpses back at you. We want you to fucking smell their stink and feel their fucking corruption, Shoot. So what's the language, right, of, say, a crossbow? A crossbow is a fairly high-tech weapon, given its components. But what does a crossbow say? Crossbows are usually considered a assassin's weapon. But a crossbow in the hands of as a self-defense weapon, different language, isn't it? Even then, the language of deploying a crossbow is like, I may only have one shot with this, but I'm still willing to get medieval on your ass, basically. Knives, bladed weapons, like a hatchet, A hatchet is an excellent primitive weapon because it's somewhere between, it's the evolutionary midpoint, the missing link, if you will, between a club and a sword. That's why hatchets are effective. That's why a short axe is effective. That's why a war pick, is effective. It has a pretty good degree of lethality. It can be deployed quickly. And same thing with a knife. Within 9 paces, depending on how fast that guy is, a guy can deploy and can draw and deploy a knife just as fast, I would argue, as a trained man or like a police officer with a gun. And police training videos actually emphasize this. That's why a lot of American cops, even though they catch a lot of heat for it, are not inhibited in any way by just drawing and shooting at any man they see carrying a knife. It might just be on his belt, but they know that the man has a knife, and so they assume that a man is going to use it, right? Now that's faulty reasoning, right? But in combat, the adrenaline of combat, right? All reason and logic goes right out the window. Combat is unpredictable. I've seen little guys knock out big guys. They might have had the element of surprise. They might have had a sucker punch. Physical differences obviously matter. But little guys can knock out big guys. And that's a fact. Well-documented fact. Little guys or women can wear down a big guy with well-timed blows. Little guys or, women can outlast someone with basic wrestling. There's no more primitive weapon, of course, than one's own body. Even someone who puts themselves into, between two folks that are fighting, right? If that person takes some abuse and shows that they're not deterred in any way because they want to protect, that other person, a lot of times that's enough to make someone else back off. Because before, they thought this was going to be easy, and now everything is a lot more complicated. So again, the mental advantage, the psychological advantage, that's where I think that comes into play. Element of surprise. I mean, if a guy goes outside of a bar to fight a guy who is a boxer, who is a excellent boxer, who might have been semi-pro, right? Someone who has faith in his tools, right? Which are his hands. He's not going to be expecting that swift little kick in the balls, He's not going to expect getting taken down. He's not going to expect getting his leg swept out and then his spine slamming into the top of a fire hydrant or something. He's not going to expect a good jiu-jitsu man, right, is not going to expect having to deal with like a chain link fence or an improvised weapon like a glass bottle. He's not going to expect getting stabbed on the ground, right, after he's already taken someone down. Or he has an excellent defensive guard, A Wing Chun guy with big brawny arms and hardened forearms who is used to deflecting or, trapping and locking from a standing or, from a standing position. That kind of guy is obviously dangerous in a hallway, right? But someone like that, they're not going to be expecting a really powerful grappler, right? Someone with a lot of fucking punching power or kicking power at a longer range that they might not be able to deal with, right? So again, there's always an advantage or a disadvantage depending on what is going down or what's being used. Maybe I'm not making too much sense here. But I think if a lot of folks think about it, folks with real world experience, they're going to know exactly what I mean. Yep, this video is over.